Hello, family again. I'm coming back to you with part two of the downloaded messages from Stone Mountain. So, in the introduction video, I said that I would be discussing the divine masculine and the divine feminine and their relationship with each other because like I said in the intro, if you haven't watched the intro, then go back and check it out and it'll get you caught up to speed from there. So, like I said, a little bit before the Stone Mountain trip, one of the things I heard was let him help you. Of just a few days before the Stone Mountain trip, let him help you. And ever since, I have been processing all of the information that I felt coming in as, like I said, as I was on the precipice of the mountain when one of the security guards helped me up. So let's discuss this for a little bit, shall we? Now, in the spirit realm, what that security guard represented was the remnant of the masculine who has come to a full completion of understanding, of knowing who the divine feminine is to him, and such now has the ability to bring her peace. Okay. And there's a whole lot of meaning in that because peace means a lot of things for her. Peace means protection, peace means understanding, peace means love, peace means stability, okay, amongst other things. All right. Some may require adventure, some might require a little danger, okay. The divine feminine, she is a multidimensional being. She may see it this way, but she also may see it that way. And a lot of times that can be very confusing for the divine masculine because he is a more singular, more linear thinker, just by way of nature. Um, but it certainly seems like the divine masculines who have learned about the divine feminine and thus their portion of the divine feminine, then it certainly seems that they have a more clearer understanding of how to understand her energy. Okay. So, what I was channeling on that mountain was that understanding of him understanding what she needs at that particular time in order to complete the goal, to complete the mission. Um, and so it was almost like in real time, that's what was happening. That security guard knew that at that time he stretched his hand out and he saw that that wasn't enough. He needed to do more than just stretch his hand out. So what he did is he picked me up and he helped me and assisted me to the top of the mountain. Okay. And there's a whole lot in that. Okay. Because as the divine feminine, as strong as she is, sometimes the weight of the journey gets harder for her. And one of the other things that I was channeling as that was happening, as that was taking place, is I heard the divine feminine say, and thus I uttered it. Now you fellas understand that this is what having a baby feels like. Now, for those of you of some people that may know me, they know biologically I don't have any children. However, I have been nanny in my family, as I am called by my family members, for almost 30 years now. So I've helped raise a lot of children. Um, but I don't have biologically have any children of my own. And yet I could certainly understand what that meant at that time. And it's by way of some other supernatural occurrences that happened to me. I'll have to get into those much later. Those are stories for other days. But like I said, that's what I was channeling at the time is, sirs, now you know that this is what having a baby feels like. So it's like right at the very end, you're spent. You don't have no more strength to go on, and yet you still have to push these final rhythms, this final step, this final push out of your person so that the new person can breathe and live. So yeah. Now the remnant. Let's talk about the remnant. These kings. Shout out to the kings who, like I said, have dived deep into their truth, so much so until now they have a clear understanding of who they are, and thus have a much better, a much clearer understanding of who she is, okay? And what that thing is that is going to come into her life and bring peace and balance to her and for her, right? Because now they understand that she equally so brings the same peace and balance to them as well. And there's only a few, okay? There's only a few. There's always a remnant. God always has a remnant. A few divine masculines who understand this concept at this time, okay? And they are the ones who will inherit. 8 minutes on the timer as we're saying this. Who will inherit the divine feminines in their rite of passage as well. Now, one of the major themes in association with this information, I wrote this down. I'm going to just read it the way it was channeled in, and I wrote it, is to be honest, if it hurts them, to tell it, then he is truth. Okay? To be honest, even when it hurts, and you tell it anyway, he is truth. So let's talk about the concept of truth and who he is. Truth is the one who tells you what is necessary to know in a particular time, all while understanding what can and have the possibility to happen if he tells you this truth. He releases the expectation of what can happen for him by way of telling this truth. He says, regardless of what may happen, it can go this way or it could go that way. But either way, I have to say this truth. This is the characteristic and the sovereignty of who he, as a divine masculine, who he, the truth, is. Okay? And he loves you enough not to tell you a truth that is going to kill you, but he loves you enough to tell you the truth even when he don't want to, because he know it may hurt you. Now, there is a flip side to that truth. There are two sides to every story. And there comes a time when he, known as truth, will come in. Yeah, my camera just almost fell to the ground as I said that. He, who is truth, will come in and tell truth despite of the consequences or the repercussions. He'll do that too as a last resort, but he'll do it if necessary. Okay, so I did a video, like I said in the intro to the Stone Mountain meeting. I did a video several months back talking about the completion of 8 and 9 and how Spirit at that time was saying that we need to practice spirituality and practicality equally so at the same time. If you haven't saw that video, you may want to go back and review it, but it's important. Those completion codes of 8 and 9 are basically talking about the completion of new beginnings. Something that was old now has to exit out because it is called in or considered obsolete programming, and it is turning into something brand new. And so this is what we're talking about. The completion of 8 and 9 is like unto the completion, the 9 and the completion of the 8s within the 9 order, right? And this number 72 is quite important because the last time I checked, 8 times 9 is 72. And the last time I checked, 6 times 12 is equally 72, 13 minutes on the timer as we're doing this. And for me, personally, again, talking about my ancestral story, and it's called for me to go back to Stone Mountain. That number 72, which 7 plus 2 equals 9, is important because, again, 8 times 9 equals 72. We're talking about the completion of 8 and 9. And my grandmother was on this planet for 72 years. I think I mentioned this in a previous video. But in any case, like I said, it was a matrilineal ancestral call. And on my mother's side, that grandmother lived for 72 years. So I want to talk about the dream that I had in association with this about a year before the Stone Mountain experience. I had a dream that it was like I was walking towards what looks like a yellow brick road. But this road, it was like really old, and like the concrete had been there for a long time, and then the grass began to like break through it and stuff like that. You could tell like it was an old road and hadn't been traveled for like a long time. And so as I was walking in the dream, as I was walking to get on this road, walk down this road, I began to see feminine ancestors, female ancestors on both sides of the road. And I saw angels standing behind them on both sides of the road as well. And then in the dream, it got really hard. Really, really, really hard to walk up this road. And I noticed in the dream, it felt like pressure. It was felt like this immense, dense pressure to be able to walk up this road. And I began to crawl along this road. And as I was doing it, I was exhausted. I was crying. And all of this is happening in the dream. I was exhausted. I was crying. But I could hear the ancestors saying, "Come on, baby. You got this. You almost there. You got this. Just keep going. Just keep moving." And it was like the angels that was standing behind them, it was like they were standing on guard to like make sure that I finished. And then I woke up. So I said all of that to say, I can, at least from a personal perspective, really, really put into words the significance of the Stone Mountain experience, the Stone Mountain meeting, and what it meant from both a micro and a macro level to me in my life. And so, yeah, like I said, as I was on the precipice of the mountain, when the security guard helped me out a few days before that, what I began to hear is, "Let him help you." I began to channel this message, 17:20 on the clock, on the timer, which is significant. It's very significant as well. I was hearing, "Let him help you." And then, like I said, that came back to my remembrance up there on the mountain. And the dream, the ancestral dream, came back to my remembrance as we were going up. And I did a video, I'll leave the link in the description box here. As we were going up that part of the mountain, that's when I began to remember that dream, the ancestral dream. So, like I said, this is about balancing her energy and his energy and what they mean to each other. He represents truth, but she represents love. And again, love is so multifaceted. It is very complex. And love honestly has the perspective of this side over here and that side over there too. Okay. But it takes a great balancing act for both his truth and her love, his and her truth and love together. It takes a while to figure out how to balance the two. Okay? Because love can hurt, but truth can also. However, when we receive truth in its most beautiful form, when we can accept it for what it is and we value it, when we love truth as much as we love love, we can equal out. We can find a common denominator with the two parts of ourselves. Okay. So this is majority of what I channeled like I said, on the mountain in regards to the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And I noticed as I went back to review some of the footage from the Stone Mountain meeting, was that the divine feminine, as I was seeing others go up the mountain, were having a really hard time. The feminine was having a really hard time getting up the mountain once you got to about 95% up the way of the mountain. It began to get really, 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 really hard. And one of the things that I said in the previous video while we were on the mountain is this is the hardest part, because this is the part of the mountain with the most resistance, because you're already tired once you get there. This is the end of the road, i.e. the end of that yellow brick road that it seems like, that I was on in the dream. 21 minutes on the timer. So, like I said, when it comes to divine feminine, who is the he that brings her peace? Well, it is the he that represents truth. Okay. And how does he do that? Well, there are different variables in multiple ways, and however you solve for X is how you solve for X. Okay? X may equal justice. X may equal righteousness. X may equal adventure. X may equal attraction. X may equal many different things. However you break that equation down for the individualized self, that's left up to you. Okay? We all have choices and system preferences to understand and know truthfully and honestly what works for us and what doesn't. Okay? So, but a divine feminine who is multifaceted, she knows what those standards are when it comes to breaking down how does he measure up with her definition of peace. Okay? And he equally knows, once he comes into the knowledge of his truth, what the definition of peace for him is as well. Right? So, what we're going to find out as we are transitioning into the new beginning of the age of Aquarius is this. Either way, we are all lying or we are all telling the truth. But we're going to find out one way or the other. Right? So, whatever your standard of truth is, whatever your definition of peace is, and whatever your definition of love, just know that you have a right, okay, to it, whatever it is. You have a right to it, okay? And don't let nobody redefine your truth, your peace, your love, because we're all on individualized journeys to better understand who we are as a collective. We're supposed to feel differently about these types of things. And your purview and my purview is all equally important. Okay? All right, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and end this part 2 here. And we will be back with a part 3 later. I pray peace, love, and light to you all. God bless you and God keep you. And we will see you next time.